Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the 3 secrets to more fulfillment for medical professionals. More money isn't enough. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump right in. All right. So before we get started, I just wanted to share that I'm not here to tell you a bunch of medical facts, a bunch of scientific research data. I'm not here to tell you how to treat your patients. This one is for you. I'm here to share with you a new perspective so you can change your life from the inside out. Now, there's a lot of research on the things I'm going to talk about, but that's not my intention, just to add more data, or more knowledge to the database that is already overloaded. My intention is to show you that you can take control of your life. You can take control of how you feel, and you can improve your personal and your professional life. So if you're ready for that, let's get started. So I have a quick question. Once upon a time, did the PA profession seem like a dream career for you? And now, unfortunately, maybe it is feeling like an unfulfilled dream. Or even worse, maybe it's feeling like a nightmare. So I've been a PA for 25 years, and I know a little something about this profession. I've worked at different jobs in different fields and even in different states. And I've gone through a lot of ups and downs throughout the years, both personally and professionally. So chances are, if you're attending this presentation, you're probably a high achiever. You like to think your way out of or through challenges, and you're someone who wants something more or different. Maybe you want a raise or more respect at work or a job you love. Maybe you have a dream that you're afraid to go after because of either financial or time or maybe even belief restraints. And I'm willing to bet that you feel like you take on all the burden when others in maybe a higher position get all the credit and make all the decisions. Maybe you feel like you work way too hard for your money and it's still not enough sometimes. And maybe you easily get triggered at work and feel frustrated or trapped because you worked so hard to get where you are and you don't want to start all over again. Maybe you cannot wait to go on vacation, but as soon as you get back, you feel like you never left. Maybe you used to have passion for what you do, but now you've hit a wall and you feel jaded about medicine and you're not sure what to do next. Maybe you've even tried an MLM or a side gig based on what you're passionate about, but nothing you try seems to work and you still feel frustrated and like you're wasting your time. Or maybe you simply just feel like something is missing and you ask yourself, why can't I just be happy? I mean, I have a successful career, right? Well, you're not alone. I've been doing some data collection over the last few years, and although I have gotten some pushback in some of the Facebook groups, if I start asking too many questions, it almost is like no one's allowed to really talk openly about how they feel. I actually was thinking about starting a specific Facebook group just so that PAs had somewhere they could go to feel supported emotionally. And I was kind of warned against doing that and being very careful about who I let in because, what PAs share could be used against them, which is kind of sad. But however, I did get over 150 participants. Some had to be anonymous, but some very openly shared with me when we jumped on a call. And I just want to share some examples of what the PAs that I talked to or that submitted, a questionnaire, what they shared with me. And some of this might sound pretty heavy. Some of it might really resonate with you. Professionally, I've lost my joy in my work and I feel like there's nowhere else to go up. I don't feel like I have personal goals anymore other than the everyday things or the basic ones. No more high achieving aspirations. I accomplished all those and quickly. A constantly shifting mix of work, motherhood, and marriage. I feel if one is going well, the others aren't getting enough attention. I feel like some part of my life is always neglected. There are not enough hours in the day to accomplish what needs to be done, let alone what I want to get done. There's lack of progression in my career. I have a great personal life. I'm happily married with a baby on the way, and I have enough money to have the things I want. I feel like work is just a constant drain on my happiness. Lately, I'm constantly called in and overworked, and I often dread going in. Wanting someone to care about mentoring me in a career and feeling like I'm making a difference in patients' lives. Frustrated that I feel I can't move forward. I have paid a large majority of my debt and make good money, but I don't have the finances to buy a house or get married. I took a job I like but don't love because it pays well and had a good schedule. I don't feel supported in my job in terms of further education. I thought I would feel more accomplished, but I feel like I sold myself short and do not feel like I look successful to others because I didn't try to go to med school and I'm not a physician. That's okay, because most medical professionals who want something bigger or better or feel let down by their current success and want to be more fulfilled by their success have experienced these same or similar feelings. And today's training will give you a roadmap to break free of the continuous cycles of dissatisfaction and begin setting goals that truly satisfy and fulfill your personal and professional aspirations. You're going to understand the root cause of why PAs work so hard for their money and never feel like what they achieve is enough. This is known as the achievement paradigm paradox. You're going to discover why traditional positive thinking strategies fall short in combating burnout and frustration in high pressure medical environments and what to do instead. And I know you might be rolling your eyes when you see that peace and joy, but just imagine that you actually felt that in your day-to-day, whatever that looks like, for you. You're going to identify and address the often overlooked subconscious resistances that lead to financial pressure and lack of passion and fulfillment, and learn how to recognize and overcome them. And I'm going to introduce you to how integrating scientific principles with holistic approaches can transform professional and personal well-being. And I like to say that I bring science and woo together to create magic. And who doesn't need a little bit of magic in their life? So yes, the system is broken and it can sometimes feel hopeless, but there are two ways to approach things. We can complain and wish and hope and not really do anything to change things, or we can believe there's a better way and be open to creative solutions. And even if you don't know how, that's why I'm here. So today I'm going to teach you the 3 secrets to more fulfillment, both personally and professionally. And the ones who will benefit most from this, this whole idea of what I'm about to get into, are the ones that are willing to go deep and think differently. So you feel positive, optimistic, and be free of shouldas and what ifs. You'll feel confident in your ability to make and hold on to money while making a bigger impact, setting new and bigger goals, and believing you can achieve them. And best of all, be able to stop and enjoy the moment, because otherwise, what is this all for? And the fact that you're here means that you're ready to have more of these moments, I'm assuming. Am I right? So me personally, I am very driven, but I don't want to spend my entire life with the accelerator pressed down full speed. So how is this possible? Well, I'm getting there. The reason why changing your level of satisfaction is so hard is because most people are only focusing on the tip of the iceberg. External circumstances, and in particular, trying to change external circumstances, like getting a new job, working more or working harder to make more money, wishing the medical system was different or more supportive. And in fact, I was in a Facebook group and I was sharing that I was going to be doing this presentation, and someone kind of challenged me and they said, yeah, this sounds great, but we need just as much focus on the systemic problems that are causing PAs to feel burned out. And yes, that is true that there are lots of things that we could be focused on to try to impact and make change that could improve our lives. But who's going to do that? It's not going to be the person who's feeling burned out, who's feeling uninspired, who's just considering leaving medicine, right? We need to like be empowered and be courageous and confident that we actually can take on something bigger than us and create an impact and create change. So the other thing that people focus on besides external circumstances is that they just kind of try to escape it. They have an escape mindset. So they plan vacations to get away from it. They drink alcohol to escape, maybe reading self-help books to be more positive. And I'm here to tell you there's something much deeper. You don't know it, and it's not your fault. It's because they don't teach us this stuff in PA school. And that's why you've been stuck. But I'm getting to it. So when you focus on the external circumstances or use escapism, you end up just working harder and pushing yourself, but it doesn't address the real issue. The way to actually make change in your life, whether that's having more money, having confidence to ask for a raise after 5 years of dedicated work to your practice, not having fear to leave the job for something better, not letting the AMA eat away at you, maybe taking on the healthcare system, being more respected for all you contribute, feeling more passionate. If you want these kinds of changes, you need to get below the surface. So your subconscious programming has led to 90 to 95% of your actions, which have led you to this moment with me here today. And this is all happening automatically without your conscious awareness. And the fastest way actually to access this, to access your subconscious, is through your emotions. And I know that that may have made some of you cringe, but hear me out. Because if you want more in general, want more out of life, if you want more passion, more joy, more fulfillment, you must deal with your current reality and then feel that contrast. And I'm going to prove that to you in a minute. And just like a side note, the paradigm, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, is like in which you live, your family, what you were told about education, how hard you need to work, how great you can be. It's not you, right? It's not actually something that you chose. It's a programmed paradigm, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So your subconscious programming are the automations that have created your reality, and it's reinforced by automatic thoughts, automatic beliefs, feelings, decisions, memories. And until you dive below the surface and take a look at your programming, you can't do anything about all of your automations that keep you exactly where you are. So as a result of what I'm about to teach you, I personally went from worrying about every penny that we ever spent, even when we had more than enough money, and that feeling of being trapped and feeling self-doubt and feeling really isolated when I didn't know something, constantly feeling triggered at work. And I basically was obsessed with when I could quit. So I went from that to saving and spending with ease. I embrace when I don't know something and I use it as a learning opportunity, which actually improved all of my relationships at work. And I now enjoy my job so much more, instead of dreading it. And I have more energy to do the things that I actually really enjoy and love to do outside of work. So today you're going to learn the root cause of why you work so hard and don't have work-life balance. You're going to learn how to stop repeating the same thought and behavioral patterns that keep you stuck, so you stop that incessant need to achieve more. And the 3 secrets that will actually help you to truly feel successful, fulfilled, and at ease, even if that might seem impossible right now. So a quick story about me, an introduction to who I am and why I'm doing this. I'm Debbie Movsesian. I am a PA. I've been a PA for 25 years. I'm also known for helping high achievers clear what's blocking them from money and confidence so they can reach bigger goals faster and with more joy. And I currently work in the heart failure clinic at the VA in Phoenix. So yes, I know all about systemic issues. But I'll never forget the day when I realized how unfulfilled I was in my career. Just like you, I went through so much training to be a PA. I worked my way through so many jobs, only to find myself in a terrible rut. And through this process, I realized that I had a pattern of always searching for the next thing that I could do, go for, want, think that I needed to achieve or improve. Like, especially at work, I really wanted to make more of an impact. I was tired of seeing patients coming in month after month with the same symptoms, or worse, gaining weight and their health just deteriorating, visit after visit. And I wanted to feel like what I did mattered, like I was making a difference, but I didn't feel that way. And in addition to wanting to make a difference for my patients, I also wanted to improve the efficiency of the clinic, because I had ideas that I thought made sense. And unfortunately, when I spoke up, I was looked at as too brash or a complainer. So I started to stay quiet. And after a while, I just became disconnected from it all. And at that time, I didn't actually realize it was happening. Then my doctor noticed and he asked me what was up because my performance wasn't the same. I wasn't the same. He sat me down. He asked me what was wrong. And it just kind of all hit me in that moment. I wanted to make more of an impact with my patients. And that realization of what I really wanted, wanted to be more impactful, like set off something inside me years ago. And I've been on the best life adventure since. So until now, I've kept my passion for helping others with their internal blocks as a coach completely separate from my medical life as a PA, which is kind of crazy now that I think about it, because I know better than anyone how much this deep inner work can help others in the medical community, from that feeling of working too hard for their money to the fear of making a mistake or saying something wrong and being looked at as just a PA, although maybe a lot of us wouldn't even admit that out loud. To that never-ending need to achieve, to do right, to be a good practitioner, but at the end of the day, feeling uninspired and unfulfilled. So when I think about it, we all went into medicine to help people. When we went through a PA school and learned all the anatomy and the physiology and clinical decision-making, we loved it. We couldn't get enough. And when we heard our first patient tell us, thank you so much for spending so much time with us, with me, explaining all the things, when others just kind of come in and out in like less than 5 minutes, that felt really good. But somewhere along the way, we lost the passion. The long hours, the endless charting, the disrespect and lack of acknowledgement. We lost that connection to medicine and feeling like we were making a difference. And the saddest part for me is that I felt alone in this. I did everything I could to rediscover my passion. I changed jobs multiple times to find one I hated less. I tried a couple MLMs and started a health coaching business, actually. I moved across the country in search of that I love my life feeling, always looking for the next thing to do, to be, to achieve. Well, the good news, I finally found it, and it wasn't how you'd expect. So we can all actually create everything that we want if we have the right tools and guidance. And I'm going to show you how. And I know it might sound a little bit woo-woo or airy-fairy, but really, when I took the pressure off and I allowed myself to stop hating my job so much, things got easier. I actually got a substantial raise without even having any idea it was coming. I became much more confident and less triggered at work. I started to appreciate everything in my life more, and more good things started happening. Over the last couple of years, we've gone to Cabo San Lucas, Maui. I went on a yoga retreat with my daughter with no concerns about money, the way that I always had before. I stopped obsessing about leaving my job. Now I'm a PA and a coach, and I enjoy my life so much more deeply. And the thing is, I don't say any of this to brag. I say it because although we may face some not so pleasant circumstances that we'd love to change overnight, when we go deeper and make changes within, everything else can change. And I want that for you too, because you are my people. So let's talk about where you're focused, or where most people are focused, and why people feel unfulfilled. So are there areas of for improvement that could help us as PAs? Absolutely. But who's going to take that on, and how? Who thinks, yeah, it's easy to change the AMA or the healthcare system, right? Or does it actually kind of feel close to impossible, right? Who thinks that? There's so many obstacles. There's so much bureaucracy, right? And if you're caught up in negative emotions and doubting your place in medicine, how impactful and bold are you going to be when it comes to going up against this giant, right? Any of these. It's kind of like if you were going to go trek up a mountain you've never been up. Are you just going to wing it and do it one day? Or is it better to be prepared with some training and have all the water you need and other supplies that will keep you safe and supported? So what do we do if we feel unfulfilled? If we're thinking about leaving our job, if we're working through lunch, not having enough work-life balance, working with people that don't value or respect us, or are overwhelmed with student debt. These things can lead to some pretty negative emotions. Do you agree? So the real problem is that being unfulfilled isn't a mindset or a life circumstance problem. More money, more achievements, the perfect job will not lead you to feel passionate and fulfilled or enough. The problem is it's a subconscious programming problem. And I'm going to go into that, what all this means in a minute. So remember the iceberg. It's because 90 to 95% of your decisions, your behaviors, your patterns are all based on old programming, which means that it's subconscious or automatic thoughts and emotions and beliefs that you didn't choose. This is why some PAs, you'll find some PAs love it. They love the work, and others who regret not doing something else. So personally, I used to focus on everything outside of myself, and I wasn't ever happy or content or settled inside until I figured this out. That's why I'm here, risking being called too woo-woo or airy-fairy, to share this with a scientific group like you. And is it important to work on systemic improvements? Yes. But if you want to feel differently about your life and have a different experience of your life, you've got to do something different for yourself and not rely on your external surroundings to do it for you. It's like treating a symptom versus getting to the root cause of a disease. So let me show you how. But before I do, I just want to remind you, it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you for wanting the system to change, for having a reaction to the AMA, for feeling like you deserve more respect. It's not your fault that you feel the way you feel and do what you do. You didn't choose your subconscious programming. You didn't choose your paradigm. Okay, so what do I mean by your paradigm? So imagine that you live in a snow globe, because you literally do, and your current results are limited by this paradigm, right? It's been created by your subconscious programming. So what this is, it's like an invisible bubble all around you at all times. And it's invisible, right? So you can't actually see that it's keeping you within this world, this paradigm. So everything that you do, that you think, that you see is based on the paradigm you live within. All of your beliefs from when you were little were programmed. They created this paradigm. And of course, we do some things very consciously, but most of what you do every day happens automatically. You chose your job, your boss, your pay, your benefits, your hours based on the paradigm in which you live. So your paradigm sets invisible limitations and you live within them every day. So it's like you're in this, right? Like you're in this comfort zone. This is your normal. And when you try to go outside of it, that's when you feel resistance. So your true desires are being overpowered and inhibited by your programmed paradigm. And this is the achievement paradigm paradox. So you work really hard to be successful, but you never quite feel totally successful. And then all the things, the exact things that made you successful, are actually the things that feel like they're contributing to your unhappiness. But even with the AMA, the broken medical system, the needy, frustrated patients, you can feel differently. You can respond differently. You can have more creative solutions and opportunities come your way when you address your paradigm or this programming. So basically, to kind of summarize what I just said, success and money go hand in hand, and experiences throughout life create new or reinforce old automatic programming. And experiences related to money play a pivotal role when it comes to results and success. And your true desires are overpowered and inhibited by your programmed paradigm. So what if you didn't have to constantly feel the need to achieve, something more, or that need to find a better job or be more positive? Imagine if I showed you a process that would instead help you to identify exactly what's causing you to be limited when it comes to money or success or confidence, or joy. And then release that from your system so you automatically believe that your big, outrageous goals of time and financial freedom are possible. And you don't need to keep working harder and doing more and feeling like nothing's working for you, or there must be something wrong with you. Okay? How would you feel if you could focus on what you wanted instead of what you think you should do? Right? Would that be valuable? So let's dive in. Secret number one, the fastest, most effective way to feel fulfilled is to do the deep inner empowerment work to break free of the achievement paradigm paradox. So you must reveal the subconscious programming that's wired in at a nervous system level. So how in the heck do we do that? So the first step is to reveal your paradigm. And this is showing that there's like 4 different steps. And I'm actually, at the end, I'm going to share a resource that will guide you through all the steps. But for now, we're going to really just have you experience this first step. Okay. So this is where we take a look at your old subconscious patterns, stories, and beliefs to see what your old automations are that you have, so that we can prevent them from controlling things automatically. So what I want you to do is play along with me, okay? And I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And I'm going to take a sip of water. And just feel yourself, feel your body in the chair that you're sitting on. Feel your feet on the floor. And just take another deep breath in and out. And let's see what your paradigm is made of. I want you to imagine that there is, keep your eyes closed, and I want you to imagine there's a screen coming up into your mind. And it's okay if it's a picture, if it looks just like a movie theater, if you're totally making something up, whatever is coming up in your mind is perfect. Your mind is going to paint you the picture of exactly what you need to see. So on this movie screen, you start to see your childhood. You see yourself as a young child, 5, 6, 7 years old. You're in the place where you grew up, the house, and you now are starting to see that your parents are there. Your mother, your father, whoever raised you, your caretaker. And you're seeing yourself back then when you were a child. And what's happening around you is that the people who raised you, they're talking about, or they're dealing with money and success and their jobs and their careers. And I want you to tune in as much as you can, whatever your mind is pulling up for you. What were things like then? What did success look like? What would your mom say about money or success or working hard? Or what would your father say? Did they argue? Did they argue a lot? Did they teach you to save and invest? Or did they overspend? Did they avoid telling you anything about money at all? Were they generous or were they stingy? Were they focused on survival, things being just good enough, making ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck? Were there any major failures that you were sensing? Or was the focus on abundance and happiness and fun and joy? And what did they expect from you? How did they encourage you or discourage you? What did they encourage or discourage? And really try to tune into, how does your father look? How did your mom look? And how did you look taking this all in as a child? Are you afraid? Are you sad? What are you scared of or wanting to avoid? What thoughts are popping into your head right now? And what conclusions is that child making? And now start to notice, how does that feel emotionally? Maybe you're sensing something physically. Is this familiar? How long have you been feeling this way? I'm not sure if you've realized that you've started to reveal your mind-body connection of your programming, your paradigm. Your subconscious is going to communicate with you exactly the way you felt back in that time. And you'll see what has been programmed. So go ahead, open your eyes and come back. And just notice, what does your mind show you about your paradigm? How many of you felt safe? How many felt like there was a battle? How many felt like you didn't have enough? So these are all the things that make up your paradigm. So for those of you who heard, and a lot of people I talked to, I've heard this from, that they have to work hard for their money. And I want you to look at your life. Where do you have to work hard for your money now? Now, it might be easy to say, well, it's just the way that it is. I have to see 40 patients a day. But I don't work like that. I don't have to see 40 patients a day. And I know plenty of PAs who don't work like that. But I've talked to a lot of PAs who do that. So is it the profession or is it the paradigm? I mean, I work hard. I take care of really sick patients and I do a good job. They're satisfied. I do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not working myself to the bone like I hear so many people doing. And sometimes, we have to work harder than others. Things kind of come up and get worse, or get more busier or more complicated, but it's not like that consistently. And if it's like that consistently for you, look for all the other ways that you have created that kind of scenario in your life before. Like, just kind of scan your life. What was it like for you in high school? What was it like for you in college? Are there patterns of working really hard and feeling like you have to and don't have a choice? Where do you feel that now? Do we stay in a job that we don't like because we're worried about our student debt? How do we feel about our past, maybe our past mistakes or our failures? Now, do we hide from people when we don't know something and we feel ashamed because we don't know it? We feel like we should be smarter, we should know it. Did you feel like there was never enough? Did your parents say you didn't have enough? You couldn't have what you wanted because you couldn't afford it. And how do you live life now when it comes to money and buying things and affording things? How deserving do you feel to have what you want? Do you work in an environment where you don't get enough respect or praise from the doctors or the other people that you work with? How confident are you? Do you feel comfortable asking for a raise because you really value yourself as a provider? Right? All of these things have been determined by our old paradigm. So this paradigm also includes an invisible limitation or a cap on your beliefs about what's possible and the emotions that you can feel, like joy and appreciation and relaxation and being proud of your accomplishments, instead of thinking about what you haven't done yet or haven't accomplished yet. So do you see how far away this is from what you really want? When you allow yourself to go there and dream big, when you live your dream life, having a career you love and feeling passionate, enjoying your free time, having money to travel the world or invest in what's important to you, besides knowledge, right? Besides school. So I know that maybe some of you are feeling frustrated and you beat yourself up and you feel like you should be further ahead by now. And maybe you've been wasting time. And you feel that way because part of you wants out of the old paradigm. So I just want to share a story about a PA that I have been working with. And when we revealed her paradigm, she saw there was a lot of anger and fighting, a lot of talk about not having enough money. And she hated that, like, fighting and the anger. So she would just go outside to be happy, right? So she would remove herself, avoid it. And now as an adult, she avoids talking about money or looking at her bills or looking at her financial accounts, even though she makes really good money. Underneath, she's like, has all this anxiety and fear about actually looking at her money. She also saw in her paradigm that there was a big focus on what she didn't accomplish, that she didn't get celebrated for what she did accomplish. She shared with me a story about a spelling test where she got 98% and she was so proud of herself, and she showed her mother, and her mother was like, oh, I guess next time you'll study harder. And that's kept with her like all this time, all these years. She remembers like it was yesterday. And she currently works in a job, she's on her way out, but she's currently in a job where she doesn't feel valued or respected. So whatever you want now that you don't have is just outside your paradigm. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, well, why can't we just push our paradigm out and expand it, right? Well, we can, but this leads to secret number 2. If you want something different, you must confront the resistance. So have you ever heard the phrase, what you resist persists? To free yourself of the limitations of the old paradigm, you must confront the resistance and push through to the other side. And in this case, what I mean by pushing through is by using mind-body tools to release that negative charge from your body. So I don't know if you remember when we just did that reveal experience, did you notice something in your body? Did you feel some negative charge and discomfort? Right? So that's an example of feeling some resistance. So an example of resistance for me was I would get really upset at the system when I was asked to see patients that I didn't think I should have to see. They're like other doctors' patients, I shouldn't have to see them. But what I was really resisting was my fear that I wouldn't know what to do with this patient, that I would have to ask for support or risk making a mistake. So instead, I wanted to change my paradigm, right? Instead, I decided to confront the resistance of my perfectionism, of that fear of not being smart enough, right? Imagine, like, that's uncomfortable to sit with that realization that you think that you're not smart enough or that you could be wrong, right? When we're really uncomfortable, when we really have a fear of being wrong, that's a sign of perfectionism that is not serving us, okay? So another example is, well, first, let me tell you this. So situations, thoughts, actions of others trigger a mind-body reaction. So you have a thought, it triggers hormones in your body to be released, which causes a feeling, and that leads to an automatic action. So another example is someone staying at a job that they don't like because they have fear of financial instability, right? I need the money. So instead of confronting their old paradigm that's causing resistance to money safety and abundance, they focus on all the reasons why they need the job and don't have another choice, right? It's much easier to just tell yourself, well, I need this job. I have no choice, right? You have no choice. So there's nothing you can do. But that's not very empowering. Another example where I've seen PAs get stuck in resistance or avoiding the resistance, is when they avoid confronting the resistance from breaking away from the need for external validation, that need to prove themselves. So they get frustrated with the people that they work with and they say, oh, they don't respect me, I'm not getting enough acknowledgement. But what they're actually resisting is the fact that they need external validation. They feel the need to prove themselves. And so they want to be acknowledged when they're proving themselves. Does that make sense? Instead of going within and sitting in that resistance that they lack their own self-validation. So remember the fight or flight response we learned about 20 years ago? Well, this is exactly what keeps you stuck feeling unfulfilled, uninspired, lacking passion and joy. We have too much cortisol and adrenaline that's released based on automatic thoughts. And anytime you even think about pushing outside your paradigm, you're going to trigger this, right? So this leads to automatic actions to avoid the resistance. So if we don't interfere with the automations, then we reinforce the programming, right? We've reinforced the paradigm because we can't see this thing, right? There's this whole shield around us, but it's been there like 30, 40, or 50 years. And trying to push outside of it, even with our thoughts, causes resistance. And so because of the resistance, we have automatic actions built in to help us to avoid the resistance, right? That's what our brain's job is, to keep us safe, right? Keep us comfortable, keep us safe on autopilot. So if you are thinking, okay, I'm unhappy, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a big change in my life, and then halfway through you end up going back to the old ways, it's because the resistance has pushed your subconscious back to doing automatic actions that reinforce the old paradigm. Have you ever heard of that phrase? He's stuck in his old ways, right? It's like if we come up against something that it's an obstacle that would help us to create major change in our lives, we look at it as an obstacle and it's this huge resistance in our system, and our paradigm's like, nope, we're not going beyond this bubble where it's easy and safe, right? You bounce back basically. But this is the opportunity for change. Allowing the mind-body resistance, that discomfort, really sitting in it, really feeling it, and releasing it using a mind-body tool. And there's all kinds. There's yoga, meditation. I use a combination, including EFT or tapping. I'll talk more about that. And basically what these mind-body tools do is they lower the cortisol. They lower the adrenaline. Basically, you're relaxing the sympathetic nervous system. And so what happens when you relax the sympathetic nervous system and turn on the parasympathetic nervous system? You feel calm, light, focused, resourceful. Ideas start flowing in instead of being stuck in frustration and then continuing on with old behaviors. So at the end of this, I am going to offer you a resource that includes a video showing you how to do this on your own. Okay, how to use this mind-body tool to literally turn off the fight or flight response. So it's kind of like what a what a caterpillar must do if it wants to transform into a butterfly. So the caterpillar is living its life, right? And then it finally reaches a point where crawling along a leaf is just not what it wants anymore. It's just not cutting it. It wants to be free. It wants to fly around, wants to go check out the flowers. But it can't just jump off the leaf and suddenly fly. It needs to form a chrysalis where it goes through major transformation. And this is what happens when you go within to confront your resistance and you use a mind-body tool to change the way that you respond to thoughts and external circumstances. So once the caterpillar goes through the transformation it needs to come out a completely different specimen, basically, it's now capable of things that it had never imagined possible when crawling along the leaf. Freeing yourself of the internal resistance allows you to fly free and explore new and different opportunities. So there's one more secret. We all have blind spots, even really smart, well-educated, self-sufficient go-getters. And it's okay to ask for help. This is one of the biggest obstacles keeping high achievers limited, not reaching their full potential financially and their enjoyment of life. Because people can work really hard and make a lot of money and be really unhappy, right? And none of us want to look at this stuff and be vulnerable, but it is the fastest way to get to the next level of what you want. And one of the best ways to shine a flashlight on your blind spots is to look for patterns that will creep in and pull you back into your old paradigm. So patterns like overthinking, perfectionism, people-pleasing, avoiding speaking up. These are all self-sabotage patterns that seem like the right thing in the moment, but they're keeping you from what you really want to be, to do, or have. And I'm going to share a really quick story about what happened, how I had this big realization. I basically was trying thing after thing to find my best life, to be happier, to find contentment. And it wasn't until I did this deep inner work that everything changed. I found that I was being told, oh, you got to be more positive. Like, you got to think more positive, because I was kind of negative. I would get frustrated and disappointed in myself and disappointed in how things were going. And I would be told, oh, you just got to be more positive. You got to change your thoughts and be positive. But if that worked, then everyone who worked on positive thoughts would have exactly what they want. And we know that's not the case. That didn't work for me. And later I found out that it wasn't working for a lot of other people. So I felt alone and defeated. And it wasn't until I found a coach who created a very safe, supportive environment where you were actually encouraged to speak your truth and be vulnerable and ask for the support that you really needed. And it wasn't about like complaining and whining and being a victim. It was about being really truthful and honest with yourself about what you were struggling with and how it was making you feel. And this environment was like a warm hug. It was just what I needed to let go of the disappointment, the frustration, and the doubt. And it allowed me to show up in a completely different way, a more confident way. And my results really started to show the difference. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't have had a coach who showed me that one of my blind spots was trying not to feel the negative emotions. That leaning into the emotions and being real is exactly what set me free. So find a group, create a community, reach out to me, just make sure that you find support to find your hidden patterns and work through your resistance so you can feel all the goodness that's on the other side of your paradigm. So I hope you now see that real change lies below the surface. So just to recap, your reality is based on your paradigm. And if you want to change your reality, you must change your paradigm. You must confront the resistance to shifting beyond the paradigm. And using mind-body tools can accelerate this shift. And we all have blind spots. So watch for the old patterns that will pull you back into your old paradigm. So what's next? Well, I hope that you got a clear little snapshot into what your paradigm is and what old beliefs and thoughts you must challenge to create different results. And now you have some ideas of how to overcome the resistance. But I'm not going to leave you hanging. I do have a resource to guide you through a process to tap into more money, more confidence, more joy, whatever it is that you're looking for. It's a self-guided 5-step process to start revealing your current thoughts and emotions and beliefs that are preventing you from having and doing and being who you really want to be. And in this resource, there's also a link to a YouTube video where I show you how to use a mind-body tool to release the resistance. It really just kind of accelerates the process. So that's for you. That's a gift. Now I'm open for questions. Thank you so much.